If you are listening to this, you are part of the Resistance. Welcome back to Star Wars News Net's The Resistance Broadcast. My name is John Hoey, and happy Rebels Series Finale Day to all of you out there. We'll get into Rebels in a little bit, and before we say hi to the guys, let me just remind you, if you haven't entered our Last Jedi giveaway yet, just pause the show, go to our Twitter page, that's at RBATSWNN, follow us, and retweet our giveaway for the Last Jedi bundle. Go ahead, do it right now real quick, I'll wait. Okay, thanks for doing that, and good luck! Now we can say hi to James Baney, Patrick Covey, and back from Mud Wrestling on Planet Minbin, Bill Sheehy. What's up, guys?
We actually had like a full week of news, guys. It was a lot of stuff that came out this week. I'm so excited to see Rebels tonight. I'm excited to talk about Solo posters and all kinds of other stuff like that. What about you, Bill?
There is a pep in my step. It is March. It is the most wonderful time of the year for any Kentucky basketball fan like me. I'm ready to go, and let's just talk some Star Wars, and I cannot wait for this finale tonight.
Guys, it's March, and you know what that means. The Imperial March. Great to be back on the show. Can't wait to talk some Star Wars.
I guess this would be the most Imperial month on the calendar that we have. All right, now we do have to get into some poll results here, and now that Star Wars Rebels has opened up a new door in lore, quite literally, we asked you, did you like the time portal in the Jedi Temple? And 5% of you said no, but it may grow on me. 14% of you said no, it's way too sci-fi for Star Wars. 30% said yes, but let's just leave it there. And 51% said yes, open it up, kick the door open, expand the lore. Guys, were you shocked that over 50% of the people said let's just blow the door open and roll with this thing?
I was, absolutely. Like, I'm going to get into more why I thought this was surprising later when we get to the Twitter questions and stuff, because I feel a Twitter question coming on that has something to do with this. But I will. I can feel it in the force, yeah. But man, I actually think this was super surprising in my opinion that people were like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like they liked it. If this was in episode 8, God be with us. You know,
You see, and that's probably why I didn't mention it in my review as much, is because I didn't know how I felt about it. So I was like, well, if I don't know how I feel about it, how is everybody else going to feel about it? So yeah, I mean, this is really, really surprising, but I guess people want something different that's not The Last Jedi. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think most people, even if you don't necessarily like the whole, like the time hopping stuff, I think everyone can agree the actual concept of this is very, very cool. Like this place where everything is interweaved and connected together. If they get too crazy with some of the time hopping stuff, then we might start going a little like, I don't know so much anymore. If Darth Revan goes jumping into the sequel trilogy, I think that'll have some good questions moving forward, you could say. But as James always said, you gotta love it because it is world building.
Yeah, well,
but
put $1 in the world building jar,
right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I personally said leave it where it is. I am fine with it just because I feel like Dave Filoni knows more about lore than I should know. So, but I kind of want to leave it there because I don't want to create too many plot openings. That scares me a little bit. But we'll get into more of that later, like James said. But our best comment went to Noah at Noah N. Olson, and Noah said, I absolutely love it. Expanding the lore of Star Wars and especially our knowledge of the Force is a fantastic thing. I'm eager to see more of this, worlds between worlds in future content. Don't know how, but I just want to see more of it. So Noah is all in, and that it sounds like, that's what most of the people said. So very interesting. I did not expect that to be the answer, but that's enough of polls for now. We're going to get into more of that stuff later on, but it is time for the Newsnet. So James, what's cooking this week?
It's in the news one more time. Rebels is back tonight with a huge 3-episode blowout as the series finale. We've seen some of the trailers leading up to tonight's episode, which look insane, But we won't bother you to speculate much because all of our questions will be answered shortly. So what I want to discuss now is last week's episode because it was a doozy. John, you got a chance to see this 40-minute run before I did, and I remember you saying, quote, best episode of Rebels I have ever seen, end quote. Tell us, why is that?
Oh, I don't like being quoted, but that is what I said, man. It really felt like it was almost a movie to me. It lifted off of Disney XD in my brain. It was so huge. It was big. It was powerful. The music was unreal. And just hearing the culmination, it was like one of those, like, you're walking down, your life flashes before your eyes, but for Star Wars, and it happened to be Ezra, and he's experiencing everything that ever happened in the saga at one time. It was just quite overwhelming, and on top of the emotion there, seeing Ahsoka, it just twists, turns, everything. It wasn't a Disney XD show anymore. It just became so huge to me. And you guys know, I wasn't a fan of this show early on because I felt it was too kiddie. I didn't love the animation. This did the exact opposite of what I disliked about the show. And the fact that they're doing it at the end just makes me really happy because there's nothing worse than when a show Seinfelds it and just takes a duff at the end of the series.
Yeah, this was crazy to me because this was the first episode I feel like they made a big point to point out that there was 3D, like the characters are 3D, but then there's a scene in this that had 2D as well, right? And then as soon as that, Ezra steps through the gate or whatever, we're in this room, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing like Rey and Kylo and Jin, you know, and all of a sudden now live action is in my head, and I'm like, wait, 2D, 3D, live action? I don't know what's going on.
To me, and I mentioned this in my review, it's such like, it's the culmination of everything that makes Rebels great to me. It's connective tissue to literally the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, but then at that point, using segments from Rey and Kylo was really, really cool, and I'm really glad Filoni did that because it feels like it means something, because some of these other canon stuff feels like it doesn't mean anything, but the fact that they took the time and added that into it means a lot.
So, Bill, that's a good point. You in your review on the main site at StarWarsNewsNet.com said that the episode clearly had a lot of Indiana Jones tone to it. Do you care to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Empire in I think George Lucas has said this is based on Nazi Germany to begin with, but it felt like Indiana Jones because it was this great evil empire using or looking for artifacts from the past to strengthen their current empire. And you just, it even like...
a military force using religion in order to take over.
It's this great military power, but it's looking for something that's abstract and something that, if they find it, can lead to... I mean, this literally would have changed the tide of the war if Palpatine had gotten to this. So, I mean, it just felt... And there were even like, just seeing the artifacts themselves, seeing the paintings, and like you were talking about earlier, the 2D modelings, it was really, really cool, and it felt really kind of Indiana Jones to me, and I really appreciated that.
Now, in Indiana Jones 4, there is a place that they call the space between spaces. Do you think that world between worlds has any sort of connection through Lucasfilm? I
mean, it'd be kind of cool if they did that, but like, I mean, that's it's purely, I think it's a coincidence, but you know, it never say never with Lucasfilm.
Well, shout out to a friend of mine for pointing that out to me. Pat, for you personally, did these episodes have any negative to them? Or do you think this surpassed the mid-season return we got 2 weeks ago?
There was definitely a lot more positives than negatives in these two episodes. I did feel slightly detached from Hera and Zeb at a couple points. I felt like there wasn't a lot going on there, but I understand this wasn't the main focus point of the story for those characters. They will get their payoff this week. Don't worry. I did enjoy the stuff with Ezra, Sabine, Palpatine, Ahsoka, and this new character, Minister Hayden. Very cool character. And I feel like there's definitely an honorable mention for that character of Hayden, because he didn't get a lot of screen time, but he still did a lot of really cool stuff, because I know everybody I talked to said, man, I wish that character would have survived. They could have done so much
and
with
Malcolm
him.
McDowell.
Yeah, the two legendary actors in one episode of Rebels. That I thought, like, I thought that was Chancellor Valorum's voice at first, but I'm like, no, that's those are Terrence Stamp and Malcolm.
How much better does it make that commercial with Malcolm McDowell and James Earl Jones now? Because now you have 2 Star Wars voice actors.
So now, exactly.
Totes
I mean, that's awesome.
goats.
I thought what was really cool is that when that character Hayden first popped up in the show, I think everybody's brain kind of either went to Vene from Rogue One,
that's
or
where mine went.
Possibly the second most common one I heard was Yoop.
Is that the guy telling Vader to get out of the bath? Like, you're guests are
exactly.
here, so let's get out of the bubble bath.
Yeah. And actually, I wrote Pablo to ask him about that, like, hey, was there any reason this character, I thought it was going to be this character. And he responded and said that originally it was supposed to be that character in one of the versions. And then they just kind of landed on, well, I guess it was, they decided they wanted to kill off that character. They wanted to have a scene. They're like, all right, well, we'll make him somebody different. But it was kind of interesting that we all kind of navigated towards him as fans. And then we're like, all right, so there is some sort of connection there. Even if it wasn't the same person, obviously that is the type of person who would be helping the Empire, someone so close to Vader, like as a servant. But guys, did you know that everything in Japan is cooler?
I did.
I didn't know that until I read the show notes today.
Yes, well, everything is cooler in Japan. And this week we got a new trailer for Solo, a Star Wars story, which didn't seem to feature any new scenes, but we also got a new poster which featured some smuggler and some Wookiee looking dope. Bill, talk to me about this poster. How is it for you? Do you like the art?
Have you guys ever heard of that song by the Lonely Islands, Cool Guys Don't Look at Explosions?
I have.
It's that song is my entire thoughts behind this. It certainly it definitely is a cool kind of background shot that you could put on your phone, and it's a really cool background. But I mean, other than that, it really doesn't do anything. I kind of prefer the Solo just with the words without that. It just seems like, and I think John said this on Twitter, that it was just kind of action hero-y, kind of just samey-ness.
Very Bruckheimer-y.
Yeah, exactly. This is Pirates of the Caribbean type stuff. So yeah, I mean, it didn't really resonate with me, but it's a good background, I guess.
Well, you're wrong, because everything is cooler in Japan.
Okay.
Pat, do you echo Bill's thoughts on this? Tell us about the trailer too. Is it worth checking out?
Not really. There's not much there in the trailer. It's I know, it's a travesty. I mean, it looks great. It's the same stuff you saw in the last
same
one.
in Japan.
Except for their subtitles. There's Japanese subtitles. So if you really like reading some of that Japanese text, go check it out. But
yeah, at some point it's like digga 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 SW digga 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 digga. I'm like, ooh, does that SW mean Star Wars?
How do you say that in Japanese?
But I do kind of somewhat feel the same way as Bill on this. I do like the concept now of, I don't know if you guys have seen this, 1.5 years ago with Rogue One, there was actually a poster released with Jyn Erso on a beach with the Death Star in the background with her on Scarif that is almost an exact echo of this poster, and they're both international. So I thought at least, even if it doesn't look amazing, the Solo one, at least those two mirror each other.
I mean, people pointed out that, it's got the big 3 characters on it, and then Lando might be flying it or whatever, and there's your big 4 characters, but that doesn't matter to me. It's still a crappy poster in my opinion. I'm sure there were posters with all 4 Beatles on them that were terrible posters. Just because you have the big 4 doesn't mean it's a great poster in my opinion, but it's not going to end up on my wall, and I hope we actually get a real solid theatrical poster when the full trailer hits.
I thought it was kind of plain, I guess, but at the same time, I didn't dislike it. I was like, oh, that's cool. It seemed to me like when you're flipping through Instagram and you're looking just at people's art and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's a cool picture of Han Solo and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon.
He looks like he's walking like a pimp. I was talking to Steve Ellis from Black Series Rebels, and he's like, put a green hat on his head and put a cane in his hand.
Chewie's always been okay. I'm not gonna say has always been walked with a little bit of a lean. So I mean, yeah. Go ahead, do your thing, Chewie.
Maybe this is the component that's missing. They're not fist bumping.
Yeah,
they need to be fist bumping in this scene.
And wearing those shades that they had on the train.
There's actually the subtitles say "Play on Playa."
John, well, then tell me, when, in your opinion, when do you think we're going to see a trailer with some actual new content?
I mean, I know I swung and missed on The Last Jedi prediction, and I was close, but I still think it's going to be like they're going to try to stick to some form of a formula, even though this is the first spring/summer debut of a post-Disney purchase Star Wars movie. I still think we're looking at late March, where we're going to get some kind of trailer, whether it's GMA again or, Sunday Night Baseball. I don't know. But then we'll also get the poster at the same time. Hopefully a better poster than this one. This one's awful. Now, the full trailer, I'm expecting to see a little more out of Lando, but I'm still not sold on Han yet, guys. So that's really in my mind. And I don't care about his look. His voice, I made fun of the first few lines of the first teaser. His voice still bothers me a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, as long as he embodies the character, that's all that matters to me.
I'm still trying to figure out why anybody would watch baseball.
Well, coming from the guy whose state makes our bats.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I don't know, James. Yeah, what's your take on all that?
This is such a weird cycle because we're usually used to the year-long cycle, so you can kind of aim it. You're like, well, there's celebration, then there was like this period, and it's like this is such a unique cycle. Not only you can't even shrink it down. You can't say, all right, well, it's a 6-month cycle instead of a 12-month cycle, so cut everything in half, because it's like we didn't get a trailer until like way, and we're
gonna miss like through
that 6-month cycle.
Our listeners don't know this, but James tried to map out the Last Jedi's.
Oh, I successfully mapped out.
He tried. Well, he tried to map out the release points of all the upcoming teasers and trailers for The Last Jedi based on the Rogue One, and he just constantly wrote on Post-its and sent us pictures. So it was a mix between A Beautiful Mind, like his shed in A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, and Charlie Day, that gif of him all like cracked out trying to put things together.
Well, if I remember correctly, when I went to go see Monsters, Inc. in 2001, when Attack of the Clones was coming out in 2002, we got a trailer then, and then the next trailer for Attack of the Clones was in March. So based on that, you're probably right, John.
Yeah.
Was that with Monsters University? Wait, we're going to get a trailer with Incredibles 2.
There you go. Hey,
it's a Pixar
Can we
connection.
Just use some kind of Jedi portal and find out now and come back and then act like we know everything?
Even though Incredibles 2 comes out in June or July.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people who seem to have the inside buzz on what's going on, Razy Diddley, or as some might call her, Daisy Ridley, was speaking with Le Magazine Geek, or as some people might call it, The Geek Magazine. It's a French publication, if you couldn't tell.
Well, we have a bunch of French fans, so listening to us right now.
Yeah. Well, when she was talking with them, she said, and I'm quoting here, "Here's what I think I know. JJ wrote episode 7 as well as drafts for 8 and 9. Then Rian Johnson arrived and wrote The Last Jedi entirely. I believe there was some sort of general consensus on the main lines of the trilogy, but apart from that, every director writes and realizes his film in his own way. Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams met to discuss all of this, although episode 8 is still his very own work. I believe Rian didn't keep anything from the first draft of episode 8. That, my friends, was a whole lot of words." Pat, I'm letting my opinion show a little bit here, but why does this story matter?
I'm going to be a little bit of a negative Nancy. This thing did not do much for me. This story was kind of like, hey, JJ's flexible. He's kind of like Gumby. He'll write some stuff out, but if Rian wants to do his own thing, that's cool. He can make it work, and that's exactly what he's doing over there at Lucasfilm. He's making episode 9 work. I do like that, he was willing to take the time to do some stuff with episode 8 in his own head to kind of formulate that stuff for what he planned on doing for 9. But at the end of the day, this is kind of just like, okay.
Yeah, so then, okay, John, let me ask you. Do you think this was anything more than a single sheet of paper that was an outline, like Rey goes to meet Luke doesn't want to come back, but she convinces him, Kylo Ren somehow chooses the dark side over the light, go Rian, do your own thing, P.S. I loved Looper.
Signed J.J. Abrams with his cool signature.
Signed J.J. Abrams.
Bad robot.
Yeah.
I think it was, man. I think he probably wrote some stuff out. I know he said he was burnt out after doing episode 7, but then when he read the script for episode 8, he was like, oh man, I wish I was directing that. And then that's why he leaped at the chance to do 9 again once they canned Trevorrow. I think he did have some kind of outline probably written out. Maybe he even talked with Kasdan about it, like, hey, we're wrapping this story up, but where do you see this going? And that sort of thing. I do think Ryan obviously did his own thing, but everyone thinks that he just like hijacked Star Wars and like threw away everything JJ built up, and I don't think that's true because
he did.
But as we know,
that's what she's even saying.
As we know,
here.
JJ Abrams was the executive producer for episode 8, so he was fully aware of what was going on. You had Ryan Johnson asking JJ to change the ending of The Force Awakens. They're a little more tied in than people think out there in social media and stuff like that. So people maybe need to take a step back just a little bit. Everything's going to be all right. But what...
And you don't even know the end game.
Yeah, so what I'm most curious about is what JJ... the conclusion to his first draft looked like, because we know it had to have incorporated Leia in some sense, and that's gone. So that's the ultimate burden that whoever does episode 9, which now we know is J.J. Abrams, has to undertake. And I have a feeling that's a big reason why Trevorrow got canned, because they don't like what he had, was going to try to do, having that void to fill.
But why would J.J. Abrams write out like a script or some sort of plan for the later movie when he knows that Ryan isn't going to keep anything?
Why do Star Wars fans write fan fiction when they know no one ever is going to read it besides their mom? This guy wrote a Star Wars movie. Why wouldn't he write the next 2 chapters just to see, like, hey, Kathleen, just in case you need me, here's my single sheet of paper signed by J.J. Abrams that has my plot for episode 9 on it.
Yeah, it wasn't like a full script though. It was like it just like a couple ideas or something, like a basic outline of. That's how she puts it. She says as well as drafts
first of all,
for 8 and
you can't trust Daisy Ridley. There's 2 reasons why. One, because there's no way she put that Millennium Falcon Lego set together that we saw in that video. So that was completely fraudulent. And 2, I'll get back to you.
There has to be another reason.
Don't forget the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con debacle where she almost slipped up with the Darth Plagueis stuff.
Yeah, that was the other reason. Thank you, Pat. That's the other reason.
Bill, take us home here then. Tell me where you stand on this story, but I also want to know one thing. What was wrong with JJ's script outline that Ryan was just like, yeah, no thank you?
Well, first off, I want to say that Leanne Sheehy really loved my treatment for episode 8, so I just want to get that out of the way right now. But I don't necessarily think there was anything wrong with it. I just think that Ryan kind of had it in his mind what he wanted to do, and I mean, JJ could we all kind of before episode 8 came out, we all had these plot points that we were like, okay, this is where the story needs to go, this is where the story needs to go, and then The Last Jedi surprised us. So I mean, I don't think, like I said, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with JJ's script. I think Ryan just wanted to do his own thing. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it. I don't, and like you introduced the story, it's kind of whatever. I think this is just a nicer way to say that like how they treated George Lucas. George Lucas had a basic outline for how 8 happened, or 7, 8, and 9 were, but they just chose not to use it, and they did their own thing. So
it just seemed kind of like a weird story to me. Like, yeah, Bob was the director for the first one, and then Bob was like, yeah, I think 8 and 9 should go this way, and then everybody else was just like, okay, thanks, Bob, no thank you, and then that's the end of the story.
Daisy,
so what?
Daisy walking out of that interview like, why did I just say that? None of that happened.
Yeah, no, it's not that. Yeah, maybe it didn't happen, but it's also just kind of like. I was going somewhere with that, and I forget where I was headed.
Michael Scott.
There you go.
Doesn't quite do anything. Well, we got more stories coming this week, but we're running out of time. So if you don't mind, John, take us on the Scoundrels Rundown.
All right. It is time for the rundown. So without further ado, Chewie, with your pimp walk, punch it. Target, yeah, that store Target, or some people call it Target, has a mini in-store teaser briefly giving us glimpses and stills from the 14 deleted scenes for the Last Jedi home video release. listed were the alternate opening and an alternate Phasma death scene, so it does appear that the deleted scene list that we broke to you at Star Wars Newsnet is accurate. The interesting part here is that the whole Phasma alternate death scene, which to me confirms that she did indeed die in the film, though if he wanted to, JJ could probably find wiggle room to bring her back. He probably wrote in his episode 9 draft that she lived or something like that, but we'll never know now. In these stills, we see the caretaker village, father years, Kylo Ren, TIE fighters, captured Finn and Rose, and a bunch of other stuff. The digital download for The Last Jedi comes out a week from tomorrow, followed by the Blu-ray and 4K editions on March 27th, so you'll be able to see it all then. In our next story, ILM revealed clips showing the making of some of the scenes from The Last Jedi, including Andy Serkis's performance capture as Snoke. They're about 1 to 2 minutes each and are pretty interesting look, showcasing not only Serkis's performance as Snoke, but also scenes that really show off how far CGI has come, as many scenes we deemed as tactile and sets were actually digitally created completely by ILM. That actually kind of further supports the belief that maybe they should make those prequel special editions that we talked about a while back.
Ooh.
Speaking of The Last Jedi, if you haven't yet, enter our giveaway contest, the Last Jedi bundle giveaway. It is over on our Twitter page, so go over to @RBATSWNN, give us a follow, and just retweet that tweet. It's all over there, so you'll find it. You'll be entered to win. As soon as it hits 750 retweets, we will announce the winner, and you'll take home, if you win, The Last Jedi on Blu-ray, the novelization of the film by Jason Fry, and 2 of our Resistance Broadcast t-shirts, one of which is shirtless Lego Kylo Ren, and I see Bill is wearing it right now. Bill, how lovely is that shirt?
It is impeccable. The Lego nipples are, without question, the highlight of the t-shirt, and I really think you'll enjoy it.
And without a doubt, a wonderful conversation starter. And not to be overshadowed, our Viva La Resistance lightsaber grip t-shirt, which is another one of our top sellers. So enter that contest. Let's find a winner. Our final story is StarWars.com released an excerpt from Daniel Jose Older's book, Last Shot, which is about Han Solo and Lando Calrissian after the fall of the Empire. But something from their pre-rebellion past has resurfaced. The excerpt shows Han asleep with a 2-year-old Ben Solo kicking him in the face. James, you probably know what that's like, having your baby boy kick you in the face.
Every night.
So it's sort of an accurate depiction, except this kid is evil. Eventually. So then Han receives a message to page Leia. He then hears a knock on his door. He answers it with his blaster and he sees it's Lando. Hey, buddy. And Lando pops him in the mouth, knocks him out cold. And then the story takes off from there. Reading even just a little bit about a toddler Ben Solo with Han already makes that scene between the two of them in The Force Awakens that much more powerful and emotional. And this excerpt in general has me dying for more. And speaking of that, we have some pretty good news for you, as we have booked our first guest for 2018. The author of Last Shot, Daniel Jose Older, will be joining us on the Resistance broadcast, and that episode is slated to air on Thursday, March 22nd. So if you're not subscribed, mark your calendars. We're going to have the author of the biggest Star Wars book of the year on our show. We'll ask him as many questions as we possibly can, and we want you to send us your questions just in case we can ask him some of yours. So be sure to tweet us with hashtag AskTheResistance. For all of your latest Star Wars news, rumor analysis, reviews, and more, head to StarWarsNewsNet.com. It's a force for news. And that's your rundown for this week, so let's send it over to Pat to find out which of your questions, speaking of hashtag AskTheResistance, he has pulled out from the question vault. So Chewie, get us out of here.
Salacious, what did I tell you? Get out of my vault. Alright, Twitterverse, we're going to answer some of your wonderful Twitter questions you guys sent us with hashtag AskTheResistance. Our first question this week comes from a Gray Jedi, and they asked us, hey guys, just finished Monday's podcast. I believe that hashtag The Last Jedi misused General Hux when they made him a comic relief. I believe he had the chops to fill up the void left by Tarkin or Krennic. Do you think J.J. Abrams could make him a proper villain? I'm actually going to take the reins on this question. I do believe that J.J. Abrams will make him the proper villain in Episode 9. He's been kind of like this character that's been, you know, he's been kind of childish. At times he can be kind of like Tarkin, or he can also be a little bit more brash, like Krennic was in Rogue One. And I feel like, you know, his father from a very young age thrust him into such a pivotal point If you've read a lot of the stuff regarding Aftermath and Phasma, you know he's gone through a lot of crap to get to where he is. And I feel like if J.J. Abrams and the story group handle this well, they can really just take General Hux to the peak of his potential, to the point where we go, okay, this is serious.
Especially if he stages a coup against Kylo Ren.
Of course, and I feel like they hinted that pretty well in that one little gun slip of The Last Jedi.
I mean, he was in on killing his dad.
Yeah, true.
However, at the end of Episode 8, Kylo Ren kind of put him in his place, so it really comes down to, does Armitage Hux have the balls to do it? We'll find out in Episode 9, December 2019. Our next question comes from Jim Corbett at jcorbb3tt83. Wow, that's a mouthful. And he asked us, do I need to watch Clone Wars before Rebels? Bill, what's your take on this one?
Now, if you had asked me this question when Rebels first came out until that last episode where it's revealed that Ahsoka is Fulcrum, I would have said no. But given all the connective tissue that Filoni has put in Rebels, I think you don't need to necessarily watch all of the Clone Wars, but I think there are a couple of arcs that you need to fully appreciate and love Rebels as much as I do. Obviously, right now, the Mortis arc is huge, and in order to like fully appreciate what we just saw in World Between Worlds and the Wolves in a Door, or whatever the name of the official title was, I think you need to have that background information on it. And it's the first couple of seasons are a little iffy, but once they get going, they really get going. It is, I think at this point now, it's an absolutely essential watch to fully appreciate canon.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. There's so much connective tissue there that it's almost impossible for you to, if you skip on that, you're missing out on some good content there. And like Bill said, you don't have to watch everything, but we highly, highly recommend it. Our next question comes from Brandon at Bandon Anthony on Twitter, and he asked us, with what has happened in the 2 last #Star Wars Rebels episodes, do you think future movies may use the same sort of time travel, whatever you want to call it, to bring back characters such as Snoke, for example? John, is Snoke coming back?
Well, first of all, Brandon, you and I together are going to use some kind of time portal to find out who took the tag Brandon Anthony, and we're going to erase his account so you can have it, because this Bandon Anthony isn't doing it for me. But thank you for the question. All right, so what happened in the last 2 episodes do you think future movies may use it? No, I hope not. This is why it kind of bothered me about our poll question and why I answered leave it where it is, because I do like and trust Filoni, and I think that it was so awesome. Like I said, my 2 favorite Rebels episodes ever. But if they start allowing this to happen on a grand scale, you can screw around with the audience and have a movie end where all these characters die or something happens, and then you could X-Men Days of Future Past it and just wipe out everything that just happened in the previous 3 movies. I don't want that to happen in Star Wars. I want things to be impactful. I don't want to give directors and writers the cheap loophole to get out of things. They have the story group for a reason. They've had this structure of plots for a reason. If you start really opening the door with this and letting this become an option, I only smell disaster coming out of this. So I like it. I hope it stays where it is. So I don't want it to move on to the future movies and things like that. And Snoke's dead. So, but thank you, Brandon, and we'll get that Twitter tag for you hopefully sooner than later. And I'm serious, I'm gonna try.
Could you picture like Ezra in that thing, and then he like looks through one of the portals and he sees Snoke just like talking to Rey, and then he's like he
sees Snoke create a Twitter account that's at Brandon Anthony,
and then he's like, bro, you know what? It's very obvious that this guy that you've been training as your apprentice is just about to kill you. Should I reach through this portal and save your ass? And then Ezra goes, no way, man, no way. And then what happened to happen in Last Jedi?
They'll just make us an Ezra standalone movie where he almost saves everybody but doesn't.
All right, our next question comes from our buddy of the podcast, Han Spinal at Han_Spinal, and he asked us, do you think we could get a Looper meets Star Wars trilogy from #Ryan Johnson in light of the most recent Rebels episode? James, how are you feeling? We getting some of that Looper action?
I am the world's biggest sucker for time travel stuff. All of my favorite movies have to do with time travel stuff. But I've said for a very long time that I don't think time travel belongs in Star Wars for all the same reasons that John just said. However, I think if you do what Rebels did, and it sounds like I'm backtracking, but like if you do what Rebels did and you just made it like this one thing in this one location at this one time, and it was just this one thing that happened and then it's closed off, then I'm okay with it. And I just hope that they don't go down that route because, like John was saying, you know what I mean? I mean, these are pretty similar questions, but the truth is that I love the idea of a Looper style movie in the Star Wars world, but then I'm like, but the ramifications of that are something that I don't ever want to have to deal with. And I don't like the concept of, I mean, we've talked before on this podcast that even something like Darth Maul coming back just sets a precedent for, well, now he could always come back. You know what I mean? And I'm really glad that Filoni decided to get rid of the temple. Like, it's gone, it's closed, the thing's over, because he was really trying to say, we did it, but don't speculate on it because it's gone. There's no way to access this ever again. Now, all of that gets squashed tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
If something else happens. But that is my answer as of now. I love it. Can I enter the fifth dimension and go see that Looper Rian Johnson trilogy Star Wars thing and then come back to this one and be like, good, it never happened. All right, I loved it. It's still in my head, but it never happened. So
it kind of reminds me of that concept where like you get a coupon for like a free donut. It's like limited time use, one time only one per customer. You wish you could have unlimited coupons for donuts forever, but you know the ramifications are not looking good for you. So just eat that one donut let it sit. All right, our next question comes from Ryan Simi at Ryan Scott 00, and he asked us, would you be interested in reading JJ's drafts of 8 and 9 if it was offered to you? This is a question we'll do to everybody.
Heck no.
James, since you said heck no, how are you feeling?
I already answered it. That's it. Heck no. First of all, JJ's script doesn't have anything. I don't care about JJ's draft for 8, whatever. And then his thing for 9, no, I don't want to ruin 9. He's making 9 now. Save it for the film. Like, I don't. Not like what a weird question, but like, no.
So you wouldn't want to see what he had in store initially at all?
No.
Why?
Because it's the same reason I don't read Legends. Like, it might.
That's
like,
different. This is like making of. This is different. That's different.
Nope.
No, see, I'm a very curious person. So I like if someone was like,
to me, it's just as fan fiction. It's like, oh, we had this idea. You know that
no, it's not. It's
no.
This was going to happen. This was going to happen.
You wouldn't want to read
fan fiction that could have been real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like if you read the first draft of the Star Wars, The Legends of Luke Starkiller, Han Solo was Zeb.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what they based Zeb off of. So that's kind of cool. So you wouldn't want to see what JJ had in mind. Like, what if it was something crazy? What if he actually made Reylo happen and they got married, and then everyone's like, oh man, we should have went with that script because that's cool.
And honestly, like, I don't even care when you were talking about like the Star Killer stuff and all this other things, you know. I'm like, I don't know, man. I just don't care about the history. Like the first draft of something is never like that interesting. I don't know, to me. Like at absolute best, it's like this one little thing where somebody could say, like, you know, in the original version, they had this person be this person. And I'm like, cool, that didn't happen.
Well, we need to find out now. The audience needs to tell us who had a bigger in this episode. Was it James or Pat? So just let us know.
Bill, how are you feeling?
Well, before we go, I'd like to put my 2 cents into it. Thank you. Why the hell not? I mean, it's like how I feel with the George Lucas treatments for the sequel trilogy. I'm always interested to see what other people had in mind for episode 7, 8, and 9. Except this, like I said, it's fan fiction, but like it could have happened. So I mean, it's a little bit more than that to me. So yeah, absolutely, I'd read the hell out of that.
And don't forget, some of JJ's greatest prep work ended up actually in the Art of the Force Awakens book. So maybe for the art of episode 9, that some of that stuff could maybe translate into the beginning of, pre-production stuff, even if it doesn't come across in the film.
Good point.
All right, so thank you all for sending us your wonderful questions. If you do want to send us some other questions, you can hashtag us at Ask the Resistance or send it directly to us at RBATSWNN, and we will get those on the episode. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way with the old email us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. Back to you, John.
All right, Brandon, I found out who has at Brandon Anthony, and it's some guy named Brandon Williams. He hasn't tweeted since 2012, and it was about Good Burger.
Oh my gosh.
So we got to try to we're going to contact Twitter and try to get that for you, buddy. That's what we do around here. We love you guys. But yeah, keep those Twitter questions coming. We'll try to get your Twitter handles for you, and we'll also answer your questions. Use the hashtag, like Pat said, Ask the Resistance. It just helps us find them easier. So just send it with hashtag Ask the Resistance, and you have a better shot of getting on the show. And as Pat said, you could also send them on to our email, resistancebroadcast@gmail.com, or the Cantina. Your questions obviously make the show a lot better. They're fun to answer. Obviously, we just had a good time with those. So thank you very much. And as you know, we are coming at you twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, so make sure you're subscribed, which is free, on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube, so you're notified when the episodes go live. If you subscribe to YouTube and leave a comment, James will answer you and answer for all of us, and hopefully represent us really well like.
Thanks, Quagmire.
Head over to our store, tpublic.com/user/Resistance Broadcast, and pick up Resistance Broadcast merchandise. Arcanian Jarrus, Doom, and Thrawn Grand shirts have left us, just like Rebels is about to leave us tonight. But we have an awesome mainstay of designs on the site, including our awesome Solo variant designs, which is basically our best-selling shirt, which is our triple Solo shirt, just with themed color schemes based on the Solo A Star Wars Story character posters. So just go check those out, pick one out you like, and you picking up our merch is really the only way to financially support our show and help us grow. So again, we thank you. For all of your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, and information, go to our website, starwarsnewsnet.com. James, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks, and you can also find me playing the Lenovo game, which is that AR augmented reality headset game with the lightsaber. They actually sent us one over for us to demo and test, and I opened it up, but they decided to send us a second one so that we can give it away.
What?
So
Wait, whoa.
That's an upcoming giveaway that we're going to be doing.
Whoa. That's breaking news right there, folks. Breaking news.
That's shocking.
All right, well, I don't know how you two guys are going to follow that up unless you have other giveaways I don't know about. But Pat, where can everybody find you, man?
You guys can find me clipping donut coupons this week and heading over to the Krispy Kreme.
Still clip coupons?
Well, I will be after
Pat
this
took,
last
Pat took the
Rebels
portal
episode.
back to 1992, and he's clipping his coupons.
It's hell of a year, John.
I'll
Hell of
tell
a
you
year.
what, those things keep filling my mailbox every 2 weeks, so I better as well damn use them for once. Anyways, you guys can find me on Twitter at Gannon136 or also over on the Cantina forum under the same name. Love talking with you guys over there. If you haven't signed up for the Cantina forum, definitely do. It's a wonderful community. We got over 8,000 members talking Star Wars 24/7 from all around the globe. My Rebels predictions this week for deaths include Ezra, Ahsoka, Kallus, and Zeb. But you know what? AP5's going to get a retribution moment. He's going to float off into space singing another musical melody.
That's a lot of free donuts at those funerals. Hey, Bill, where you at?
In the words of my colleague Patrick Covey, you can better as well find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. You can check out my review of the finale of Star Wars Rebels tomorrow at around 9 a.m. Really excited to bring that to you guys. I hope you've been enjoying my other two that I did for the last episodes. I've really enjoyed them, and I've been getting a lot of great feedback. Thank you guys so much for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Right on. And you guys can hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and also find me writing and editing. Probably editing Bill's articles. No, I'm just kidding, Bill. There's
a lot of editing.
At StarWarsNewsNet.com. And as Bill said, to pretty much echo what he said perfectly, enjoy Rebels. It's over. We hope you guys enjoyed as much as we're about to. And we'll try to do some recaps for you next week on that. Thank you so much for listening, interacting with us, and spreading the word about our show. And welcome to our new listeners. I think we have about 300 new followers on our Twitter account. People are entering that giveaway, and so if you've just stopped by, we hope you enjoyed the show. Stick around, subscribe as we said before. We'd love to have you. Remember to enter that Last Jedi bundle giveaway. Follow us at RBATSWNN and retweet that contest tweet. And tune in to our next episode this Thursday, where we're going to find out if the Force is with us about several hot button Star Wars topics. And we'll have our Star Wars character draft. We're going to be each drafting 8 characters to enter into our Star Wars March Madness bracket tournament. So be sure to check that out. More details on that on Thursday. We have a lot going on, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. And we'll see you again Thursday morning right here on the Resistance Broadcast.